Ever played The Legend of the Mystical Ninja? It's a really fun Konami game for the Super Nintendo released way back in 1992. It's a side-scrolling action game, presumably set in the Japanese Edo period. The game stars Kid Ying and Dr. Yang, better known by their proper Japanese names and the names used in all subsequent titles, Goemon and Ibisumaru. The pair travel through various locales of Japan's past in an effort to free the kidnapped Princess Yuki from the clutches of the evil Hanya shogun. The story begins with our two heroes just hanging out at home in the village of Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo, when they learn that the local temple is being haunted by a feminine apparition. Feeling exceptionally heroic, our gallant duo set off immediately to investigate. This game allows for simultaneous two-player cooperative play. One player controls Goemon, the other Ibisumaru. Playing with two players can be a lot of fun, but we'll be tackling this one solo. The game begins as Goemon leaves his home and enters the town of Edo. The first thing that you will notice is that this town is violent. Everyone seems to have it out for you, no matter how innocent they may appear. Just touching a person takes away a quarter of your health bar, which makes killing them that much easier. Make your way through the town. Collect coins from the defeated townsfolk. Stop at the store and pick up a few things. Extra pairs of sandals are good for increasing your speed for whatever reason. Be sure to buy some pizza, as it will be consumed automatically when you die, effectively bringing you back from the dead and replenishing some of your health. And dying is something that you will do a fair amount of in this game. Make your way northward. Speak briefly to this woman and learn that a strange cloud is coming from the north, and that she is scared. So scared, in fact, that she simply disappears, along with the bright, cheerful environment, only to be replaced by a dark, foreboding atmosphere. Look, even the ghosts are out, and the rolling things. Anyway, keep heading left till you hit the Horo Temple. Enter and say hello to the raccoon dog, who will inform you that this is dangerous territory and recommends proceeding with caution. Sage advice indeed. The whole game is set up in a similar fashion, with the player beginning subsequent levels in a town filled with attacking citizens, then a platforming section with a boss at the end. I always like these kinds of somewhat hybrid games. It reminds me a little of ActRaiser, or maybe Zelda 2 in this manner. What with the item collecting and powering up before taking on the action stage? Perhaps that's just me. Regardless, in classic side-scrolling style, continue to the right until you meet the boss of the first stage. A ghostly gal with a penchant for propelling plates precisely at your person. Just keep hitting her spooky projectiles back at her, and soon the battle is over. But wait! Out of the ghost springs a cat named Kurobai. A ninja cat, that is, of course. He tells us that he has no time to explain, but instead hands you $100 and tells you to go to Shikoku Island and see the cat boss Koban, which sounds totally normal. So now you're dumped back out into the town, which has had a facelift recently. The ghosts are gone and the villagers are back to their homicidal selves. Also, all the stores and games are open. Try your hand at famous games like Mole, Paint, and Goblin. This is a pretty good way of getting cash without risking injury. It's also pretty boring. Mole and Paint are the only two worth playing, or at least that was my experience. Mole is just like the whack-a-mole games that you'll find at carnivals and arcades. Use the D-pad plus A, B, X, and Y to bludgeon the corresponding critters. Paint requires the player to cover as much of the canvas as possible without hitting a wall or the paint itself. Goblin requires you to put a ball in the goblin's head. I've never actually been able to do it, but I'm sure it's possible, just not for me. You can try your luck in the maze. It'll cost you $100, so you better find something worth at least that much. Or nothing, like me. Moving on. So save up some cash and buy some stuff. More sandals are good and pizza is a must. The only problem with paying $30 for a pair of sandals is that once you get hit, they go away. So really it seems like it's best to just get good at running really slowly because you're going to be doing a lot of that. Also, pro tip, if you find a fortune teller, whom the manual refers to as Madam Psychopath, she will charge you $20 to tell your fortune. There are only two possible outcomes. Either she sees good in your future or she sees bad. The result is that when you leave her store, you will either be surrounded by a group of enemies or a group of women. If you see enemies, just run back into the shop. Otherwise, collect the women for money. Just don't hit them or it'll cost you $100. I guess that was the penalty for beating women at the time. Anyway, grabbing the girls gets you $50 each. Try to get all 5 for a cool $250. Not bad. Really, you can just keep doing this over and over again. Or until you start getting creeped out by the fortune teller's mannerisms. I mean, what's really going on here? Either way, once you have your funds, it's time to talk to your travel agent. This cross-eyed, blue-haired weirdo will give you 3 different travel options. The more money you spend, the more health is recovered. Find the option that fits your budget and watch a goofy cutscene to end the level. There are a total of 9 Warlock zones in The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. In classic linear video game form, each level becomes more difficult than the previous. And since everyone attacks you in this game and death comes quickly, it's fortuitous that one can find respite in various hotels. Much like with the travel agency, the amount of health recovered depends on how much cash you're willing to fork over. Here, because of a lack of funds, we see Goemon bedding down on straw and probably contracting lice. Now that you're all healthy, it might be a good idea to save your game. And to do that, because this game was made in 1991, you'll need a password. Oh yes, the password. Once you've reached the second Warlock zone, you can enter one of the nondescript random houses and be issued a password. The password is totally ridiculous and only serves as an exercise in frustration for the person doing the inputting. I mean, look at this. Upper and lowercase letters, numbers, math, and literary symbols, shapes? Give me a break. Anyhow, it's really best to just not die if you aren't using save states. And if you don't want to die, remember, buy the pizza, as much as you can hold, since Goemon will eat it after he is killed. I'm not sure how Goemon can eat anything after he's been beaten to death, but the pizza will bring Goemon back to life, likely in zombie form. Actually, this is quite apropos for Goemon since his character is based on a Japanese medieval folk hero named Ishikawa Goemon. Goemon, the man, was born in 1558 and was kind of like a Japanese Robin Hood. Apparently he would steal gold and stuff from the wealthy only to turn around and give it to the poor. Eventually, Goemon and his son attempted to assassinate a warlord named Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Attempted is the key word there, because they were both caught and summarily boiled alive. Ugh. Anyway, stock up on pizzas. There are also armor items that can be purchased, but much like the sandals, they tend to disappear after a hit or two. I suppose it's better than nothing. Once you feel ready, continue towards the next boss. This dog-faced, lantern-headed fella isn't much of a problem. Just keep on smacking those lanterns, then hit that sucker repeatedly in the face until you free another cat. This boss, like all the others, is much easier if you have an upgraded weapon. And we have to talk about the weapons. I can recall playing this game as a kid and thinking the weapon choices were so stupid. I mean, Goemon uses a pipe and Dr. Yang or Ibisumaru uses a flute? What? Just give him a sword or something. However, in my research, I learned ninjas from long ago really used everyday items like pipes and flutes as weapons in an effort to conceal their secret ninja identities. Further, by collecting these lucky cat statues, our heroes' weapons are upgraded, by which I mean they get longer. The base level weapons are pretty awful. I mean, most enemies only take 1 hit, but the range is so bad it can make things rather frustrating. 3 lucky kitties is all you need to maximize your weapon. Goemon ends up with a far-reaching yo-yo a la Star Tropics. And Ibisumaru upgrades to a, party whistle? That's what the manual says. My god, that's annoying. Stop! In addition to your melee weapon, Goemon can throw coins that he's collected at enemies. It will cost you $4 to throw 1 coin, but it's worth it. Baddies come at you non-stop and sometimes from all different angles. This is especially more noticeable towards the end of the game. There are bombs as well, but you only get 3 for $30. You're better off throwing coins. I think the bombs are used to blow up rocks in certain spots, but I'll never know. To further hone your ninja skills, just visit this surly-looking fella at the Jutsu School for the Mystically Gifted. By spending money here, one can learn a new ability called Jutsu Powers. There are a total of 4 different Jutsu Powers for both Goemon and Ibisumaru. And is that a kamikaze joke in the manual? Is that supposed to read, "Me crazy? The famous kamikaze pilot?" That's funny. But the problem is, the jutsu skills cost both money and health to learn. This guy won't train you unless you can afford to lose half of your health. Very annoying. Once you gain your new ability, you can use your jutsu power by pressing X. Each use requires 10 dead pawn scrolls. Further, it is only usable in the action sequence of the Warlock Zone from which it was purchased. That is, it goes away at the end of the level. It's really neat, but a pain to acquire. The third Warlock Zone is actually easier than the second, but it gets much harder from here on out. This level has a bunch of dopey guys in clown costumes who are just begging for a beating. That's a face worth hitting. The same rules apply as the other levels. Try to beef up your character before facing the action stage. But this level has an easy opportunity to get cash. There is a quiz game that asks you the same 6 or 7 questions. First 1 to 3 correct answers wins. You get 300 smackaroos each time you win, and the game takes about a minute. I wouldn't exactly call it fun, but it's something. Not to spend too much time in this particular Warlock Zone, but there is a bunch of stuff to do here, aside from the quiz game. I'm not saying it's really worth your time, but you can go through these Konami curtains and play a couple of arcade classics. And check out this lady. What is going on with her? What's with all the pink? I always thought she looked like Gem from Gem and the Holograms. And look at the way she talks. She's saying a lot of words, but her mouth isn't moving. Wait, she opened her mouth. Did you see it? There. She said all those words with that single monosyllabic utterance. Amazing. Anyway, back to the games. Tear Down the Wall is a Breakout knockoff and possibly a reference to President Ronald Reagan's famous speech regarding the Berlin Wall.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
All right, you heard the president. Let's tear down this wall. After choosing one of 3 starting power-ups, the first thing you will notice is how freaking slow the paddle moves. Ugh, it's painful. I should have taken the laser power-up instead of the wall. Ah well, enough of this. Now Gradius. This was a great game. I like how you can save up your power-ups for different upgrades, but one hit and you're dead. I also like how the enemies emerge from the top and bottom of the screen. Now I don't really remember what happens with the boss, but forget this. Each game costs you 100 coins, so it doesn't make much sense to play these. But I remember as a kid thinking that it was really cool that there were mini versions of real games in this game. This level is really just a bunch of minigames. There are a few gambling opportunities here as well. We've got horse racing, lottery, and a dice game. These are all based on luck. There is no skill involved whatsoever. Some might argue that this kind of fake, digital gambling can lead to a real-life gambling issue. I beg to differ. The games are almost impossible, and I swear the computer cheats. Let's hit the lottery first. The goal here is to match an animal and a letter, or just a letter for the second prize. Once again, this is just luck. First, we choose an animal. I'll take the noble turtle. Now we choose a letter. Now the computer will choose a random number, I guess between 0 and 9. So I'm pretty sure you always win at least the third prize, or 50 bucks. Now I suppose we have a 25% chance of getting a C, and we did, surprisingly enough. Now we need a turtle and a C for the grand prize. Turtle B8. Not quite. Let's try some horse racing. That is, betting on horse races, not actually racing them. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the betting works like this. The first column represents the finishing place of the horse. First, second, third, and fourth. The second column contains hyphens. The third column represents the horse's lane number. And lastly, you can see how much of a payout you can expect from a win placed on one of those bets. In an effort to keep things interesting, I'm going to put a bunch of money on one with a big payout. This one here pays 15 to 1, so long as the horse in lane 4 comes in first. That sounds good, if not rather risky. Okay, the horses have taken their places at the starting line. And they're off. We want lane 4 to come in first. Come on, baby. Hurry up, you stupid horse. Stupid horse. Ugh. Last place. Of course. One more gambling stop. This is the high-low dice game. 3 die are tossed and the total is added. More than 11 is high and less than 11 is low. The minimum bet is $10. Whoa, Goemon. Those bets are getting pretty heavy, buddy. I'm just getting started, bro. Hey, we won. Great, let's take our cash and leave. Let's roll them bones. Uh-oh, I think Goemon's starting to develop a gambling problem. I can quit anytime, bro. Of course, the smart thing to do, if you should be so lucky as to win money, is to take the cash and simply leave. Only a person with no self-control would continue to play this game. Oh, no way! It was bound to happen. Well, once you're back on your feet and out of the casinos, continue north and cross this bridge. The big octopus at the top won't give you too much trouble. It's far too busy orally birthing live offspring to notice your presence, much less put up a fight. Once the big squid is defeated, continue northward. Feel free to slaughter the fleeing townspeople as you go. Get out of the way, I have a gambling problem. I always thought it was funny how in the next cutscene, Goemon can be seen happily eating and chatting away as though he hadn't murdered a bunch of civilians on that bridge just moments ago. It's funny. Throughout the game, the various action stages are laid out pretty well, if not pretty basic. But being basic is necessary because dying means losing any armor or sandals you may have had in reserve. Generally, you just run to the right or left, jumping, crawling, and killing baddies along the way. None of the enemies are particularly tough and usually take just one hit. In fact, I thought the action stages were all pretty easy. No more difficult than the towns, anyway. The only one that gave me any real trouble was the stupid platforming section in Warlock Zone 4. Maybe I'm just not that good at these games anymore. Or perhaps I never was, but this 90s style jumping puzzle was seriously frustrating. The revolving wooden platforms really have to be timed just right, and if you miss, you're going back down. I don't know why this was so tough. Maybe because the frustration causes you to start rushing once the fun is gone, which is almost immediately. Once you do manage to make your way to the top, make sure you don't go to the right. The door to the right takes you all the way back to the beginning of the stage. So lame. Talk about a slap in the face of the player. Oh, and you're being timed as well. So, if you were like me and went the wrong way, you're forced to redo the entire level. Let's just make sure to go to the left this time. Once you do, you can make quick work of the boss. Just dodge the glowing ball that these two morons are playing with and keep hammering them in the face. The big kabuki mask will get bigger and bigger until it occupies a majority of the screen. Turn those rosy cheeks black and blue and soon the boss is no more. Aside from some of the platforming, another complaint that I have is that there are 2 levels late in the game which force you to save up a bunch of money to buy dumb items. In one, you have to buy a pass for $980 just to enter the action stage. Absurd. In another, the king speaks some foreign language and you need to buy a text translator for another $980. What a cheap and lazy way of prolonging gameplay. So you can just run around getting 10 coins at a time from enemies, or you can play paint or mole or something to get the funds. Let's play high-low, bro. I got that itch. No, Goemon, no more gambling for you. But once you get the funds, the last couple of action stages are really pretty fun and offer a bit of a challenge. I've always really enjoyed the music in The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. Composer Harumi Ueko did a great job creating fitting and memorable melodies which draw inspiration from traditional Japanese compositions. The music really fits the settings. For example, the action levels force a musical change, informing the player of upcoming adversity. My favorite tune occurs in the first level action sequence, in the Horo Temple. Mr. Ueko perfectly utilizes SNES hardware to create a compelling and haunting sequence of notes, securing the player in an equally disturbing environment. Honestly, I find myself whistling this song at work. The boss music is equally awesome, if not much more excitable. I especially appreciate the initial percussion, which leads into the more raucous elements of this particular musical work. And speaking of bosses, let's bring those chumps out. In order of appearance, we've got the dish-throwing poltergeist, dragon dog lantern face, orally birthing giant octopus, fat face smiling moron, ninjas with many legs, hairpiece throwing kabuki man, generic furry snake dragon, tilting guy with luchador mask, and dog-back samurai archer. Once each of these bosses has been felled and Hanya Shogun takes a couple of knocks to the cranium, Princess Yuki is freed. God knows what she's been through. Just look how happy she is. Her appreciation is so great, hearts spring from her torso. Conversely, Goemon isn't having any of it. I'm not sure what his problem is, but I bet it's gambling related. And with that, the credits begin to roll, informing the player that the journey has indeed come to an end, which sounds like an excellent time to wrap things up with a list of pros and cons. And honestly, the pros here far outweigh the cons. Okay, pros. Bright, sharp visuals, good overall control, lots of humor throughout, which is a bit of a rarity in video games as a whole, but action games in particular. Imaginative enemies and bosses, fun, solid platforming, excellent music and sound, and don't forget about all those mini-games. Okay, cons, let's see, how about taking damage takes away too much of your inventory. The base weapons are pretty pathetic given their lack of range. The towns all kinda start to blend in after about the 4th or 5th Warlock Zone. The levels are called Warlock Zones. Some of the platforming can be a bit annoying. Stop! Password system is awful. Thank God for save states. I really didn't like saving up a bunch of money to buy game prolonging items. And lastly, the gambling in this game might have an adverse effect on a certain segment of the population. I'm good, bro, I swear. I know you are, Goemon. Thank you for watching this all the way through. If you'd like to see more stuff like this, please like this video and subscribe so as to be informed when new videos are posted.